Welcome to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for February 13th. I'm Mike Ortiz.
I'm Chris Brown.
What do you got?
Well, I'm going to lead off here with, I'm going to lump two books together here. I'm going to lead off with, we'll do this one first. Walking Dead 107 is this week. We're sort of left in the last issue, 106. Negan has met up with our group on the road. They think they're going to be able to take him by surprise. They meet up on the road, and we're left with Negan's comments of, wait till you see what I've done to your boy. There's no Carl in issue 106. Nobody really knows what happened to him. Find out what Negan does to Carl here in this issue. Pretty interesting. Pretty good stuff. And I guess we've only got, one more issue in the story arc. And then, so where's it going? What's happening? This issue, admittedly, the last page, I think made me mad. I'm not really sure. I'm always talking about how Rick puts his hand on his hips, and, well, Rick doesn't do it this time, but it's another one of those, just like they just sort of drop the next plot point on you, I guess, a little bit, or some sort of direction. Like, all right. We're going to roll right into Walking Dead Governor Special number 1. This is very similar to the Michonne special that they did. They're, piggybacking it on top of the TV show so that people can get into who the character is. There was a 6-page story in the Liberty Defense Comic Annual or whatever that came out maybe 2 or 3 months ago. They're going to reprint that Governor story here, and then also his first appearance in issue 27, I think. Does it tell me here? No, not right off the bat. But so essentially, this is like that story that you're not really going to be able to get anywhere else. It was only printed in that thing, and then they reprinted it here, and then reprinted his origin. So you can find out a little bit more about the governor, even though this is a slightly different governor than in the television show. Then I'm looking at Archer and Armstrong number 7. Still really like this book. I'm loving the Valiant stuff. This was, we kind of were introduced to our new Geomancer in the last issue, and now they're kind of telling stories. I really like the way they're going back and telling stories of the Eternal Warrior and what went on in the past and how he was protecting the Geomancer and making it jive with what's going on in the present. Really, really good stuff. It feels like the old book. It's fun. It's got a big adventure, a little time-spanning sort of stuff, and it's sort of funny and kind of a weird, weird duo kind of deal. Then I'm looking at Cable and the X-Force, issue number 4. This book, I've liked this book so far. It's, the third issue, admittedly, my interest started to wane a little bit, but I want to see where it's going. They've got, the kind of a strange sort of deal where someone is using mutant chicken to turn people into mutants. They think it might be, it's not quite Chew, but they put some kind of mutant activating virus or something in this chicken. They think it's this politician. It wasn't really her. It's strange. Very, very strange stuff. I know it's almost like a Clive Barker zombie there. I don't know what's going on there. But it's been all right. I dig it. I really want to like a book with Cable and the X-Force. So I'm going to keep pushing through for a while. Then I've got Avengers Arena, issue number 4. Island Brawl to end them all. This is X-23 versus Darkhawk. The 2 most recognizable characters in the whole book, I guess. They're going to face off here. All right. Well, we know X-23 is still alive on, day 39? Is that where the first issue starts?
I have no idea.
And she's still running around at that point. So I don't know what's going to happen here. I like this book. It's fun. It's totally ridiculous. They're just clearing house and killing young superheroes. All right. I'm in. Then I'm looking at Peter Panzerfaust, issue number 9. In the last issue, our characters, our Lost Boys, essentially get to this train. They think they've been able to free everybody. And out comes Captain Hook. This issue here is basically him breaking down Peter. They're having a little confrontation, and kind of you get a little bit of Captain Hook's backstory here, and where his lineage comes from and what's happening. And then you kind of find out a little bit what Peter's made of as well. It's the last issue 8 had me just totally reeling. This one, I liked it, but it's a breather. It's taking a breath to get us to where we are next. And I love this book. I think it's been fantastic, and it is really getting better with each issue. Then I've got Manhattan Projects number 9. This is one I didn't get a chance to read yet. I did get a chance to read quite a few of the Image books from this week, but this was not one of them. But I love this book. So it feels like the last one was a little late, too. Or this one was a little late, too, huh? Hasn't been a while since in between issues there. Again, we've got super scientists and weirdness and kind of an alternate Earth history. And is this a luchador wrestler? Well, Einstein's just hit a luchador over the head with the belt. I'm in. I'm so in on that. Then I'm looking at Hoax Hunters issue number 7. I like this book. This is written by our buddy Michael Morrissey and Steve Seeley. Really, really cool stuff about the group that tries to keep the things that go bump in the night from your knowledge. You know, they're a television show who, you know, finding Bigfoot, and they try to prove that it's not real, even though they're actually approaching the situation trying to keep it all hush-hush. But it's gone beyond that. There's all kinds of relationships between the characters. It's bigger than just its premise and its idea itself. And I really, really dig it. It looks like they're dealing with some kind of vampires here. I think I'm an issue or 2 behind. So I do have to catch up, but I really, really like this book. Then we've got Fatale number 12. Another book that I'm a little bit behind on, but it's Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. So you know I'm going to catch up. It's film noir. It's monsters. It's kind of Cthulhu. It's really weird. And Sean Phillips' artwork. Absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, check that one out. Kind of looks like a Burning the Witch kind of thing on the cover, too. Great cover. Then we've got Mars Attacks, issue number 7. This one is bagged and boarded with another trading card stuck in there. This has been a really, really fun book. I believe the last issue was the start of the new story arc, so this would be the second part of that. Just a really fun book. It's still written by John Layman, who I'm loving. You know, I love the stuff he does on Chew. I'm really liking his detective comics. And I love this Mars Attacks. And I'm not usually someone that goes for what I consider adaptations, licensed stuff, I guess. Not usually my thing. But I love this book. It's fun. John McCree's artwork is great, and John Layman's telling a really fun, weird story. Cool. Then I've got Secret Avengers number 1. This is written by Nick Spencer, who I've got a lot of in my stack this week. I like his writing. I think he does some really interesting things. And this almost looks like this is your underpowered characters, your Black Widow, your Maria Hill, Hawkeye, Sam Jackson, Nick Fury. And I guess that's Agent Coulson in the background.
I think so.
There's a Scotty Young baby cover where it says, is the secret code for no powers? And I guess that's essentially what it is. This is our non-powered Avengers movie characters, essentially. And that's where they're going with their direction now. That's fine. It looks good to me. It's written by Nick Spencer, art by Luke Ross, who I'm not really familiar with. But it looks good. It's very clean. You know, I dig it.
And I'm sure it's the surveillance covert ops team, blah blah blah.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they've got the first cover here is supposed to look like a file folder with the word Budapest very visible. Then I've got Morning Glories number 24. This is also written by Nick Spencer. I'm a couple issues behind on this one too. This one, Nick was so busy with so many different projects. This one was coming out a little bit late. So I think I've got to go back a couple issues and kind of refresh myself because we're finally getting somewhere here. There's some time travel, some weirdness. This school is trying to do something, and even the good characters that we thought were going to give us a little hope were not necessarily the good characters we thought. This one feels double-sized too. It's $3.99. It feels a little thicker. Maybe he's finally getting to his conclusion.
I heard somewhere, I think I was listening to a podcast that said something about in the upcoming previews they've got a solicitation for the beginning of season 2 of Morning Glory. So maybe they're wrapping up this kind of first storyline, and that'll be season 1, and then there'll be a break, and it'll continue on with another storyline.
Interesting.
So I don't read the book, but that's something that I heard recently. I was like, I didn't realize they were doing this in a season format.
I don't know that Nick Spencer realized that either. You know, and I think maybe this something needs something to breathe some fresh air into it because it's 24 issues. That would be 2 years, and I believe this book first came out maybe 3.5 years ago. It has not been on time. So, and that makes it hard. When you've got this big, sprawling, epic story, it makes it hard when it's not on time. Yeah. And, you know, I do the best I can, but I read a lot of titles from week to week. You know, my stack's big enough, and I'm reading half of what you got, too. So, next I'm looking at The Clone, issue number 4. I really like this book. It's got a really weird vibe to it. There's some political intrigue going on. There's stuff with these clones. You know, our main protagonist clone just kind of wants his child and baby back. And then, of course, you're dealing with other clones and other characters. And some weird things happen in this issue. There's another politician in there who's doing some bad things. I can't even remember our main senator character, but his daughter is dying of leukemia. There's an issue on the floor of whether or not he should vote for stem cell research. and he's Republican, so he doesn't know what to do. But then you find out he's involved in this clone experiment. And so we're getting intrigue back and forth between the politicians and then the clones. Some, other clones are trying to kill everyone else off. Almost like, what was that movie with Jet Li where he was jumping through dimensions, killing himself? This is similar, but it's clones in this. But it's been good. If you've not been reading Clone, you should be. It's from Robert Kirkman's Skybound imprint. He doesn't really have anything to do with it, but it is some solid stuff. Cool. Check that one out.
I'm going to start off with America's Got Powers, number 5 of 6. In the last issue, we found out that our main character's powers were not quite what we thought they were. He was one of the people who was supposedly given abilities. His abilities never manifested. Then at some point during a kind of a crisis situation, all of a sudden he shows up with quite a bit of power. But it turns out that what we thought we saw was not what we really saw. His abilities are a little bit different. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but we've got a big confrontation. There's a group of people with powers who don't want to be a part of this television show tournament. So at the end of last issue, there was a big kind of confrontation as the bad guys basically went after the rebels that have been housing this our lead character. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Tommy, I think. But it's a good book. Really interesting premise. Definitely playing into the reality TV show type stuff. Superhero is celebrity, and it's got some great Brian Hitch artwork.
Awesome.
Really great stuff. Next up, The End Times of Bram and Ben. The first issue was kind of interesting. It had a nice Chew vibe in terms of the type of humor and even the type of artwork. Basically, the rapture happens. Apparently, some people don't believe it. Some people do. And a lot of people vanish. Some of the people who are left behind are wondering, why wasn't I good enough? Other people who are left behind are like, woohoo, all the prudes are gone. Let's have some fun. But there's also, at least in the first issue, kind of a subplot. Something's going on with this rapture. One of the characters actually briefly got raptured and then got sent back to Earth because it was a clerical error. Or maybe there was something else going on. I don't know. But yeah, if you like kind of angels and devils and apocalypse tales, but funny, then you may like this.
At the end of the last issue, he declares, well, if I'm not good enough to make the rapture, well, then I want to be the Antichrist. Yeah. So he wants to run. He wants your vote for Antichrist. This next issue is kind of like, it's you either are the Antichrist or you're not. It's not like a voting thing. And then this demon shows up and like, hey, I'm going to help you out. So it's pretty good. It's a good book, and I really dig it.
Next up, I've got Star Wars number 2. The first issue, honestly, didn't do a lot for me.
Right.
It was pretty good, but like you, I don't get a lot of the licensed stuff. But the book blew up huge, and everybody loved it, and went for big money and second printings and third printings. So I figured, maybe I just missed something. I'll give the second issue a shot. I mean, it's good. It's well done. It takes place right after the first Star Wars movie, so this series is going to bridge the gap between Empire and Star Wars. But first issue, it's kind of tough to really tell. I didn't think Brian Wood really got the voices down.
I don't think he did either. I liked the issues, but he definitely doesn't have the voices down.
And that to me is kind of the main reason I don't get a lot of these books. Okay. So I'll give it a shot for a while, see what happens. Next up, Batman number 17. This is continuing the Death in the Family. We've sung the praises of this book so much. It's still my favorite DC New 52 book. This Joker is creepy.
Yes.
The storyline is creepy and disturbing. This is actually a Batman that probably is not remotely appropriate for children.
No, not so much.
But yeah, it's really, really good stuff. I mean, we can't praise it enough. Scott Snyder's the best Batman writer in a very long time, and Greg Capullo is just killing it on the artwork.
The artwork is incredible. One thing I would like to say about the book, I have read it. I'm not going to review it. I'm not going to spoil anybody's fun. However, with both Night of the Owls and this Death of the Family story, I think DC in some ways is doing Scott Snyder a serious disservice. The writing is so good. He's telling these big, great stories. They're stories, not events. He's not approaching them as events. DC is marketing them as events, But he's not. He's not breaking toys. He's not breaking toys and leaving you with nothing left in the toy box. He's still playing with that toy box. So while Night of the Owls at the end, I was sort of like, oh, okay. By the end, Bruce is just sitting there talking to Alfred saying, well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't my brother. It's not possible it couldn't be. It's almost like the end of a TV show where they give you a quick synopsis and recap. And that's what he's doing. He's just telling good stories. He's giving nice big events for Bruce to go through, and then he's moving forward. And that's what this issue is. It's, it's not the event that DC is painting it to be. It's just a good story. So if you're waiting for that event thing to happen, just sit back and enjoy the thing, and you will.
And what's nice about the way that he is doing it is you don't have to read all those other books.
Correct.
With Night of the Owls, it might enhance. You see how those fit to the other characters. But I'm only reading the Batman book, and I don't feel like anything's missing.
As am I. I'm doing the same thing.
So, next up, Green Lantern, the Animated Series, number 11. We got some bad news. The show has been canceled. They're going to finish out this season. I don't know what that means for the future of this book. Typically, when the show's gone, most of the spin-off things are gone too. But again, this is a fun book. It's a little bit more written for kids than the TV show is, which probably one of the reasons why the TV show was canceled is it's appealing to a lot of 30-year-old dudes who advertisers on Saturday morning aren't necessarily looking to chase. But good Green Lantern book, all done in ones. Real kind of classic Silver Age stuff. Really, really fun stuff. Although, again, this one actually is not done by Art and Franco. I don't know if they're going to be doing this book anymore. They've got their own thing going on, and another DC book coming out.
Yeah.
Apparently, too.
A part of that Occupy Wall Street thing. Which I'm glad that Art and Franco are getting a mainstream DC book.
It's about time.
Absolutely, it's about time. I'm very happy for them. So they've got the All Yeah Publishing thing going, and then this, and some great incentives on the All Yeah Publishing thing too. But if you re-up and take another incentive, you lose your previous incentive.
Really?
And I wanted the MP3 audio file, so I'm like, man, there's these other awesome incentives. Like yesterday, they were popping up all this cool original artwork, and I'm like, but I'm going to lose the MP3. I'm sure if I whined to Art enough, I could get one, but that's not the point.
You're going to have to just have a friend do it for the other ones. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Check it out. Next up, Fantastic Four, number 4, Matt Fraction and Mark Bagley. This has been a good book. This is really, it's a very different book than Hickman's book. It's a lighter tone. It's a little more superhero, a little more adventure, a little more cosmic because they're running around time and space, looking for a cure to Reed's ailment. The unstable molecules of his body are breaking down. But yeah, this has really been an interesting idea, great family dynamic, and it's kind of taking the Fantastic Four out of the Marvel Universe in a lot of ways.
I like it, though. It's fun.
Yeah.
Even though really Reed's still mind-wiping Captain America over New Avengers. He's also out in space, so he's the new Wolverine.
That's why his unstable molecules are breaking down. He's in 2 books. Next up, Fury, My War Gone By. This is actually Fury Max. This, again, has been a great book. In the last issue, basically this is Punisher Max and Nick Fury Max kind of meeting. So it's Frank Castle, while he was in Vietnam. Nick Fury also was over in Vietnam. The very first story arc of this book took place in Vietnam in the 50s, before the United States was in the war. But Nick Fury, was there kind of representing kind of American interests in the CIA and things like that. The second story arc, they went to Cuba. Now they're back in Vietnam. One of the characters from that first story arc has turned out to be quite a significant villain in Vietnam. So they send Nick Fury and Frank Castle to assassinate him. They get captured, find out that they've kind of been set up, that this whole thing was really a way for this guy in Vietnam to catch the Americans trying to assassinate him. He's got some other evidence about American misconduct in Vietnam. He wants to take it all public and ruin the credibility of the United States. The United States, in the meantime, figures, to prevent this from happening, they're going to have to launch an airstrike and kill Nick Fury and Frank Castle. That's the way the war goes. So this is obviously going to be them not getting killed and getting out of the situation. Great stuff. Really, really good. I mean, the politics are there. The history is there. He is telling... Now you can sort of realize by issue 9, he really is telling one larger story with these books. That basically, what does Nick Fury do after World War II and before the Marvel Universe essentially happens? So really, really good stuff.
He looks like Snake Plissken on the cover of that book, though.
Well, you got one eye. It's either him or the governor.
But not every one-eyed person looks like Snake Plissken. That one just happens to.
Next up, we've got Wolverine and the X-Men. This is number 25. I feel kind of bad for this book. A year and a half ago, this was like the lead X-Men book, and now it's in terms of quality, now it really is getting overshadowed by Bendis's book. But this is still the tale of the school, the Jean Grey school that Wolverine is running. It's a lighter tone. It's a little bit more like the old New Mutants or Generation X, with the younger characters and the school. Really great stuff. Jason Aaron's writing it. This particular issue is drawn by Ramon Perez, who did a book called Tale of Sand that was nominated for a bunch of Eisners. Really talented artist. They've had some good artists on this book. The regular artist, I can't remember his name right now, is quite good. Some of the fill-in artists have not been
Was it Bocello doing that?
Bocello started it, but now he's on a book that we'll talk about a little later.
Okay.
But this has been a fun book, light in tone. It's unfortunate it's not getting the attention I think it deserves because of the other X-Men stuff, but still worth a shot. Next up, Highways from IDW. This is by John Byrne. This is Byrne doing some real classic style science fiction. Cool. If you read the first issue, it was very much a setup. There's a ship service that runs across the solar system. This is the new guy's first time on the ship. The new navigator. He's never actually piloted a ship. He's only done simulations, and they get thrown into the midst of some kind of mystery out in the moons of Saturn. I believe they're on Europa. So really good kind of hard sci-fi stuff, and John Byrne's always been very good at that. When he does superheroes, the tone is a little bit different.
Sure.
I think this is a little bit more serious, and Byrne has always drawn great tech. Great sci-fi machinery, great spaceships. If you're a fan of John Byrne, which I still am, give it a shot. That's my stack.
Certainly a fan of his artwork. Whether or not I'm a fan of John Byrne, I don't know.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. If you like John Byrne's work, this is kind of back to old school stuff.
I guess that brings me to my top pick here. I'm looking at Bedlam issue number 4 by Nick Spencer and Riley Rossmo. My stack is all like a third Nick Spencer this week. I really like this book. The premise is essentially that Matter Red, mass murderer. In that first issue, he's committed this horrible atrocity. The police believe they've taken him down, but he's been saved by this doctor who does facial reconstructive surgery and sucks the evil out of him. By the end of the second issue, there's these other murders going on, these sort of murders of a religious tone, and by the end of the second issue, he confesses to it. In the third issue, well, why would you confess? Well, I know what's going on. I can help you figure it out. And he says, essentially he's a little bit off still, even though he's not evil, but he knows what's going on. And he's trying to help the police do this, but they're pretty sure he did it. So at the end of that third issue, they take him up to the roof to get roughed up by the local superhero. And now that's not exactly going to happen because the woman realizes, wait a minute, there is something linking all of these victims together. And that's what he kept saying. You're not looking at it on the surface. You're looking at something else. There is some other reason that they're linked together, and you've got to find it. Mm-hmm. And then in this issue, they find it. He's getting the crap kicked out of him by, Matter Red is getting the crap kicked out of him by the superhero on the roof. And the cops are trying to figure out who this killer might be. Why are all the victims 23? What's going on? Why are priests being killed? What is going on? And they start to put it together. And it's a little bit similar to that bad Kevin Bacon movie with the kids and the, wasn't there something with a hot dog cart and guards at a kid's youth home? And it's got a very similar underlying thing to that. But it's wonderful artwork, very interesting. I like that our former serial killer is the main character, and yet they're presenting other serial killers that he's now trying to just stop. So his is always in the background, but there's very much another crime at hand. The artwork's incredible. Great stuff, as always. The writing is really, really solid. I really, really dig this book. Cool. Can't say enough good things, and that's, I believe, 2 weeks in a row. Mm-hmm. I've had Riley Rossmo stuff right at the top.
Yep. My top pick is Uncanny X-Men #1. This is a Marvel Now book. Brian Michael Bendis' other X-Men book. This time he's joined by Chris Baccello on the artwork. This is why Baccello left Wolverine and the X-Men. This is basically the other X-Men team, the team of Cyclops and Magneto and Magic.
And this is them trying to recruit the other.
This is the basically at one point this would have been considered the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but since they're led by Cyclops, they get to call themselves X-Men because there's lots of X-Men.
Cyclops Magneto looks like a Cylon,
and Cyclops now has an X for a visor. I don't know, strange redesigns, but they work very well with Baccello's artwork. I don't know how well they will translate to other artists, but as long as he's on the book or they have replacements that fit in, it may still work. I love what Bendis is doing on All New X-Men, so I had to give this a shot. This is kind of the other end of the equation. This is the evil Cyclops' point of view. Well, maybe not evil, but this is the current
antagonist Cyclops' point of view. Sure.
So he's getting mutants for his point of view. This is his X-Men team. The X-Men that are a little bit darker. I don't know if that costume is going to work if Pacello's not drawing it. But in any event, Bendis is doing such a great job on the regular All New X-Men book. I'm hoping that this is half as good as that, even though it doesn't have nearly as interesting a premise. But still should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about that book. It looks a lot of fun. Like you said, Bendis is doing such a great job with All New X-Men. Let's see what he does with the other perspective.
Yeah.
He's offering us the young Cyclops perspective a little bit in the other book. Now let's see what he's doing with this, and then it'll hopefully make a complete picture.
Yeah, I think it will. It looks like he's got some big plans for both books. They obviously are going to be interacting and intertwining, but he has said that it's not going to be a situation where every third or fourth issue was a crossover, that they're going to try to keep them relatively separate for the most part because they're telling two very different stories. And again, there's going to be a lot of new mutants introduced here too, as Cyclops is going around finding new people to join his cause. So really interesting time for the X-Men books right now. Really glad to see them kind of reinvigorated. I think they have benefited from Marvel now more than any of the other lines. So that's my top pick.
There's also a blank white cover variant on that one, as well as a couple other variants, and there's also a blank white on the Secret Avengers as well. So be sure to check those out. So with that is your Week in Geek.